today's Toy Spot, we are having a look at the DC Collectibles DC Comics Designer Series, Greg Capullo, number 6, Catwoman. Already I can tell from accessory standpoint, she only comes with, appears to be a whip. It doesn't come with a display stand, although display stands seem to be a hard thing to come by nowadays with figures. Spin around the side of the package, there is a sketch of the Catwoman here, number 6 from DC Collectibles, and on the back, other figures available, there's number 5, Red Hood, number 6, Catwoman, number 7, Mr. Freeze, and number 8, Thrasher Suit Batman. Funny enough, when Spot did the review of Mr. Freeze, I couldn't quite gauge what direction his freeze gun went, and sure enough, I should have actually just looked at the back of the package. You can see, yes, the freeze gun faces the way that I ended up having it posed. The only figure I wasn't able to pick up, actually, of all the figures here, was Thrasher Suit Batman. I'm still keeping my eye open for it, and hopefully when I find it, a review of him will follow. At any rate, Spot's going to take a break. I'm going to get this opened up, and when we come back, we're going to get a better look at the DC Comics Designer Series, number 6, Catwoman. There's more anyway, guys. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. So once again, let's touch base on the one accessory that comes included with Catwoman. It's this licorice type of material whip. It's a soft rubbery plastic, but because it has this sheen to it, it does look like black licorice. Of course, a handle, and there's a loop on the end. A nice pliable whip. At least it's a pliable whip and not something that's pre-shaped. You can't do anything with it. A nice whip, though. You can take it and put it into her one hand. Only one hand will hold the whip. The other hand, I'll show you guys in a second. The whip can be a little harder to get in there because it's rubbery. It doesn't have as much of a sturdiness to it. But you can see Catwoman holds the whip very well. As for her other hand is in a claw shape. So you're not going to be able to display the whip in this hand. Instead, this is good for clawing Batman. And that's... Not that that's what I'm going to be doing, but you could probably have the hand more extended out. Okay, so as it goes for figures, normally I like Catwoman. Harley Quinn, I've joked before. It seems like Harley Quinn can be hit or miss when it comes to figures. Generally, Catwoman gets off pretty good. She's not that much of an eyesore when it comes to figures from figure to figure. Catwoman, I think, has a higher percentage of being better looking figures than, say, the likes of Harley Quinn. This figure, even though I understand it's depicted from a certain design and from the comics, Greg Capullo has a certain design style to it. And while I really like his design style for Mr. Freeze, Catwoman, at least translating it to a figure, I don't care for this. I don't care for the design of this figure. It's not to say that his design in the comics wasn't bad, but somehow it just didn't translate, I think, well to a figure. Maybe the culprit, well, the culprit I can tell you right off the bat, the culprit is the face. There's something about her face. Well, first of all, it looks like she's been sucking on a lemon, like a really sour lemon candy. She's kind of got like this puckery mouth look to her. It doesn't also help either that while I do appreciate the color that the eyes are, this nice kind of honeycomb golden yellow, maybe this isn't helping either because it ends up kind of making her look like a fly or a bug. If this was maybe a translucent plastic that you could have seen the eyes underneath, maybe if they had been the same color, but again, more of a see-through yellow, seeing the eyes underneath I think would have gone a long way. And instead, because it's more solid in color, and again, I don't know the material in which the figure is based from, but even like basing it from the side of the packaging, you could see her eyes. This figure, they just ultimately gave her solid eyes, and I find it just doesn't work as well for the figure. The rest of the bodysuit is nice. She's a little harder to stand, and she does have one peg hole on the underside of her foot, so if you have extras, find yourself a good display stand, put her on there, and keep it, because I mean, I balanced her well enough at the beginning of this review to get her to stand properly, but because she's got high heel shoes, she doesn't do the greatest of jobs of standing on her own. The rest of her body is basically all black. The only thing that really breaks up the suit is the lone zipper that runs down the front, and then the buckles, the little actual buckle ends of the straps of her boots, which is also silver. But the rest of the body is all black. There's nothing really breaking it up. And normally that's not really so much of a problem for me if the face had been just a little bit better. I like the sculpt on the boots. They're pre-posed. In other words, you can't manipulate the feet individually. You can rotate at the boot, sure enough, but you can't do anything with the feet. I feel like the feet want to lean themselves forward. I also got like a little bit of silver paint there on the actual heel itself. As a whole, it's not a terrible Catwoman figure, just not crazy on the face. And maybe coloring this in solid yellow gives her a little less cat and a little more like bug. In the way of her articulation, Catwoman doesn't seem to have as much, but she does have a ball joint in the head, ball hinge joint shoulders, hinged elbows. She has rotation only in the glove, not actually in the hand, but in the glove section. Same on this hand here as well. No torso articulation, no waist articulation, and surprisingly enough, she only has just a straight swivel in the leg. I'm surprised it doesn't hinge out, but she only swivels back and forth. She does swivel at the top of the thigh, has a single bend at the knee, and a rotation in the top of the boot. I would say, unless you're a die-hard Greg Capullo fan, you love his design, I love his designs for the most part, or you're a die-hard Catwoman figure, I don't feel like this is a figure strong enough that you would want to pick her up, again, unless you really like Catwoman. I think the bodysuit, as vacant as it is of detail, it's on par with what you would get from a Catwoman. It's just something about the face. I'm just not crazy, and I think the culprit really boils down to the goggles. If not for the goggles, I think the figure could have potential. Sadly, though, it's not a figure I think I would say it's worth picking up. Today's Toy Spot, we're having a look at the DC Collectibles Greg Capullo Designer Series Catwoman. Stay tuned, guys. Spot's going to have more collectible spots, of course, heading your way. More toy spots, of course, heading your way as well. Thanks for watching, as you always do. I'll see you next time.